countdown back. Cool. What's up, Metal Summoners? It is so great to see you guys. We will have our guest on shortly, but we just wanted to jump on and rap with you guys a little
Yeah.
bit. We always appreciate you guys tuning in, supporting the show, and allowing us to do these bitchin' episodes every single week. It is the middle of the week, like you guys know, and we are rocking out and kicking off your weekend here on your island of misfit toys. We've got Angel, we've got the only more fabulous Bobby
Yes, in my pants.
in your pants. And of course, we've got myself. Before we get too fully deep into everything, I first want to thank you guys, you fans, for being always so supportive of us. And thank you guys so much for supporting, Angel and Steve as they held it down yesterday so that, Bobby could do his thing and so that I could have some family time with my brother in Texas. And I took the Metal Summit to San Antonio to watch a little bit of Guns N'
San
Roses.
Antonio.
Yeah.
What venue?
It was the Alamo Dome. I'm not 100% sure who plays there officially, but I'm pretty sure that it is like the University of Texas, I think, does a lot of stuff there. But yeah, it's kind of like what I like to refer to as the Angel Alamo Dome. But it was really, really great. And also coming soon to Instagram, some very funny pictures of me disrespecting Angel's name in the all for Ozzy. And I'm sure everybody can kind of figure that out little by little. But it's all good. No disrespect was, of course, whatsoever shown to said star of those photos. There was no disrespect. It'll make sense. I'll post them a little bit later because I just couldn't help myself. When it comes to rock and metal, we're always going to find some fun sites to go and visit, and San Antonio was no different. But anyway, thank you guys so much. We want to give again a lot of love to Mike Dover, who put in a great episode with Angel and Steve. So Angel, thanks to you, man, for holding it down, kicking ass so I could get a little bit of family time, man. I appreciate you.
Hey, no problem. If I had a booty call, I know you would do the same thing for me, bro.
Absolutely. Not quite that kind of call for sure. Yeah, but I'm sure my brother appreciates that all the same. But when it comes to Guns N' Roses, Bobby and I were talking a little bit about it off the air. It really was a great show. I got to give the bands a lot of credit. Alice in Chains was fantastic. Guns N' Roses were great. I mean, the show was 3 hours and 15 minutes long. My back was screaming by the end of that show. But also anybody that is familiar with Guns N' Roses and it kind of knows their history when it comes to starting versus not starting. I mean, dude, that clock hit 7:30 on my phone and those lights went down and they were on, So, I mean, I got to give a lot of credit to Guns N' Roses doing their thing. We got Frank on drums for all of you fans that know Frank Ferrara, who's been with them now for quite a while. We've got it's with Duff, it's with Slash, it's with Axel, it's with Richard Fortis, who's always fantastic, and Dizzy Reed, of course. And I forget her name off the top of my head, but they have a female keyboardist as well. So Guns N' Roses has been a 7-piece band now the last couple of times I've seen them. So that's definitely been really, really interesting. But it's a unique situation. Like when you go and see them, you're definitely getting your money's worth, regardless of what section you're sitting in. The money you paid,
Yeah.
I mean, 3 hours is definitely well worth your money. But Bobby, let me kick it down to you, man, because you just kind of had some interesting insight into your thoughts on Guns N' Roses now versus Guns N' Roses then.
Well, you think about the whole,
just opinion type stuff. But why don't I kick it to you, and why don't you tell me a little bit about what you think of like the current Guns situation performance wise versus what we saw on the day?
Look, I know we're all getting older, and I think this is a more kinder, gentler Axel than we're used to, And like I said, we all remember the days of going to a gun show, and it was like, oh shit, I'm going to a gun show. What time are they coming on? Is it midnight? Is it, is Axel going to leave? Is Axel going to show? Is the band not going to be there? It's that type of thing when you go see. Now it's kind of a little scripted. So it's, look, nothing against anybody in the band. And look, it just got posted 2 days ago. Duff's got an album in the works he's getting ready to do. I'm really looking forward to seeing, Miles Kennedy going back out with Slash and that end.
I mean, Dizzy's got hookers and blow, so he always has that in the can.
But I really think, uh, you know, uh, how much longer can this go on? It's going okay. This tour's been going on, like it's like, all right. We
I mean,
heard
I
there's
definitely get where I definitely get where you're coming from. I mean, dude, they gave me 30 songs last night.
yeah,
Between
it's
solos and stuff. But
songs
what
we
do you
heard.
what do you think, Bobby? From your experience, do you think it is more about like packing it in for the fans, considering this could be a farewell, or do
Well,
you
my
really
thing
just
is
think it's about
they're
celebrating
not going to
the
put
tour?
new music out. Nobody wants to hear new music.
I mean, they put out 3 new singles, dude, like in the last year.
Yeah, but it was stuff that was done years ago. This is all Chinese democracy, and I had the opportunity to work with do an event with Ron, and this is stuff that was in the can that should have been out years ago. So it's
You're talking about like Pain and Absurd and stuff,
yeah,
the stuff they've been releasing,
yeah.
really?
It's it's like uh, uh, I don't know. Look, I feel like we're coming to the end of the end. Look, Aerosmith shit the bed. Thank God I got to see the first show. Um, the Pink tour was amazing. I mean, look, Alicia's great. Love being
Yeah.
here in Doylestown, but there's not that many artists who can do this kind of thing anymore. And look, I brought up a band from Canada.
Yeah, let's
And
talk
I
about
just
them.
got turned on
Well,
direct.
actually, real quick, Bobby. Before we get into them, the one thing I did see, and if I remember correctly, and I'm pretty sure I do, when I saw GNR in DC on the first leg of the Not in This Fucking Lifetime tour when they originally reunited, they did it then, but they did it last night, and I think it's pretty cool. They do Slither from Velvet Revolver, and I actually
Yeah.
think that's pretty cool that they do that. Because that's not Axel being Axel doing a cover of a band he likes. This is literally Axel being down for the cause to do a cover of a band that had nothing to do with him, but something that Slash and Duff did. And I just think that's kind of cool because I don't think for a second that the old Axel would have done that. He would have been like, fuck that thing you did with someone else.
Yeah, it's
And the cover's great, by the way.
yeah, it's amazing. But you got to admit, I mean, you've seen him currently. I seen him a year and a half ago in Hershey, PA. Look, I remember when, and we're great friends of Ari.
Yeah,
There are certain notes Axel can't hit anymore.
sure.
I they're the song notes I love to hear. Thank God, we have the new singer in Journey who can. Steve Perry can't do that.
Right.
I don't want to hear. I think Steve Whiteman said it best. I want to go out before we start sucking.
Right. Do you think that do you personally feel that Guns is kind of on that precipice?
Of course.
Really?
Look, I feel like, well, look, let's be honest. Axel's not in the greatest shape. He's not a Kip Winger. He's not a Gary Sharon. There are certain, I give kudos to Sammy Hagar. Sammy can still hit the notes. Michael Anthony can. You need to know that if you're doing it, and we've all seen Motley Crue, so we and Ace Frehley, thank God Ace has Ryan and all those guys backing him up. But look, I don't want to see Ace do an acoustic unplugged thing.
Sure. And I'll give you that one for sure. I mean, for what it's worth, like, everybody knows, like, I'm not stupid to the situation, of course. I can see, I can hear when it comes to Vince. I mean, I'll fight for Motley Crue just as long as I can because it's Motley Crue and I love that band. But in my personal opinion, while nothing you said about Axl was incorrect, they definitely are not on the same level. The performance and the vocal abilities of Axl still stomp what Vince does now in Motley Crue. They're not in the same book. They're not
Yeah,
in the
but you
same.
got to know when to leave the party. You
I
know, the
feel,
whole thing is
but I do feel like Axl can still be invited to the party, though.
yeah, of course. But you know what it is? It's kind of like, look, I had the opportunity to go to Ted Nugent's show. You know, these guys are getting older and
Sure,
they know it's time to get out of the race and let the new young bucks come in. Look, I was, like I said, I was at Pink uh, Tuesday night last week. Across over at Wells Fargo was Greta Van Fleet. Thank God I stayed in the city and they packed the place. Now, I look, there are a couple bands, you know, I could bash. It's only because I'm an old fart, but I mean, I seen Robert Plant. I don't need to see Greta, but you know, there are band. I love Dirty Honey. I love what they're doing. There are some of these new bands that are coming up. It's like, all right, keep kicking ass.
sure.
Nuno still is a motherfucker on stage.
He definitely is 100%. Before I keep the segment with Bobby, because I do want to discuss this band from Canada that we spoke about off the air, especially Sammy Hagar. Angel, let's kick it over to you, man, and we'll also I see Brian, and we got some comments from the fans that we can definitely talk about amongst the three of us. But Angel, what's your thoughts when it comes to like Guns N' Roses? I don't know if you've seen them recently, and if you haven't, that's okay because we all have the internet, we all have videos. But we've spoken many times about Motley Crue and the whole Vince thing. It's been a hot topic on this show. But what's your thoughts on Guns N' Roses? What you've seen, and just genuinely what your opinion is. Me personally, I think Guns can still go a bit, and I'd like to keep them around a bit longer. That's just my thought, but like I said before, I don't think Bobby is incorrect. But let's kick it over to you for a bit, Bud. What are your thoughts on older bands and whether or not they're staying too long at the party?
I mean, I grew up on Guns N' Roses, but for fuck's sake, if you can do one show, make it a pay-per-view event at the new stadium in Las Vegas where you have the five original guys, just do that show for the sake of people saying, hey, you know, we saw Steven Adler, we saw Izzy, just for the sake of that. But I mean, I like to see them put out a record, but not the stuff from Chinese Democracy. I would like to see what Axl and Slash and Duff can come up with now in 2024, as opposed to coming out with new songs that were just leftovers from the Chinese Democracy album.
Right.
So I think that would just make it more interesting.
Now, Angel, I'll interject right here. You know, the bad thing is a lot of the younger people don't really give a rat's ass of what's out there now. I mean, the older stuff. I mean, it's I'm really happy that bands like I said, Dirty Honey, and and look, I'm not a fan of Ghost, but I love that they have a following, and I don't get it. To me, it's like mayonnaise Kiss, but and thank God, Alice. If I'm gonna go anywhere with an old guy, give me fucking Alice any day, who can still go out there and kick your ass across the room.
For sure.
And Rob Zombie.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like Rob can do no wrong. I can't wait till he comes back to my area because I love me some John 5. I will never say anything bad about him. I've met him a few times. He's always fantastic. He gave me an interview when I was very green in the business, and it was great. I'm very happy for what he's doing with Motley. From what I've heard, he's really shelling out, and I think that's super duper cool. Hey, Dean.
Hello.
What's up, my friend? How are you,
Hi,
sir?
guys. I'm all right. Sorry. Hopefully, I'm not too late or whatever. I was out trying to
Oh
make some money with
no.
this
No, we
thing.
were just waiting. Oh, what?
No
Oh,
worries, brother. You told me your schedule a little bit, so I was just trying to keep you in the loop, man. I never wanted you to ever feel pestered.
No, 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 absolutely. No, I'm pleasured. It's great to be here, quite frankly. So, I appreciate you giving me the time to hang out with you guys and stuff. So,
No,
it's
we,
nice to hang out.
of course, my
we
friend.
And
want to
plus,
see
Really,
about
I must
you.
admit, I'm also enjoying the O's. Where am I at? I can't even tell where my camera's at. There you go. Yeah. So
Ah,
I'm
your
all about the
hose.
O's,
What?
buddy.
absolutely, man. It has been a very, very exciting season. We were talking before you joined us. I was in San Antonio last night for Guns N' Roses, and so
Oh.
I flew back this morning, and I drop into BWI and I get in my car and I'm cruising and everything's fine, and then all of a sudden, wham! I hit that Orioles traffic coming off of 295 into the back part of the city around Russell Avenue, and it was just like I was like, oh shit! Looks like the games. It looks like the O's have a game.
Hey, it's nice to if you're an O's fan, it's nice to hear somebody actually runs into O's traffic. You know, the
Understood.
years running up the past couple of years been a little bit tough for us,
Mhm.
but here we is ahead of
Absolutely,
schedule,
man.
and we'll see what happens. You know, nothing past tonight counts. It's all about what you do tomorrow. You know.
Absolutely, man. 100%. But so Dean, let's bring you in, my friend. Me and myself, Angel, Bobby, we're definitely super stoked to chat with you. So again, man, thank you for being so open to the experience. When I talked to you at the Kick show when Solo was playing, and kind of talked to you, hey man, I've been doing the show. We've known each other for a little while, and I'd love to have you on. It was great that you were down for the experience. So I personally thank you, man. Appreciate you for again being down for the experience, man.
No, no. Again, I appreciate you having taken the interest in even wanting to hear me yap.
Absolutely, man. So first and foremost, I had a different idea for how to kind of kick off the show, but I actually am going to slightly take it a different direction because I just saw you made a post recently that I just thought was very, very cool, and it was a picture of you hanging with Kicks backstage for their final show, really just reminiscing and looking just so like happy to be with your friends and be with your peers because of course you had so many years in Funny Money with Jimmy and Steve. So first and foremost, we would really love to hear your insight and thoughts on the farewell show for Kicks and some of your fondest memories.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean those photos and stuff. I was just happy that somebody took them. I mean, to kind of reverse engines for a second. So, of course, I play with Bret now, and we were out in Texas, and we are trying to fly home, and it just so happens that the weather and everything else. Or I'm sorry, it wasn't even the weather thing. It was something wrong with the plane itself. So it
Mm,
looked like I was going to get home about roughly about quarter till 4. After all was said and done, I got home at quarter after 8. So my wife picked me up, and that was actually up where we had to go ahead and go into Baltimore instead of Dulles, which is only like 35 minutes from my house. So it had about another hour to my trip of just trying to get home, let alone 4 hours late. So we were coming home, and she's like, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead and just drop you off and head on home," because she knew I could get another ride home. So I did it. So I got there at exactly 9:30. I had some friends go ahead and meet me and took me backstage just to go ahead, and give me some credentials or whatever like that. And I immediately headed out front. So I was over there on Brian's side with lots of wives and other friends of the band, stuff like that. So anyway, so I started to get to watch it at about 20 till 10, and then it was over at quarter after 10. So
Yeah.
after that, then we went back and I know to leave everybody else alone. I know how it is after a show, in particular, everybody else is there. Everybody wants, hey, just 5 seconds of your time and stuff. I'm like, I'll see you guys later. So we went to the after party over at the hotel,
Yeah.
and eventually those guys came on out. And so I also had some other friends that wanted to go ahead and really meet. It's funny because the Kip, our my guitar tech in Bret Michaels, he was in town, and his girlfriend was a huge Kicks fan, and he's 22, and I believe she's probably about 22. So if you go really big Kicks fan at 22, I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. And she did up her car and everything. It was super cool. Sent me photos. Like, can't wait to see these guys and stuff. So we went, and I wanted to make sure that I was able to, try to introduce them to Jimmy and Steve, because she was pretty specific about that aspect of stuff. So anyway, so I went. I waited for Jimmy to go ahead, kind of have time, say to whoever, but it's kind of lingered around behind the person he was talking to, so that whenever that person walked out of the way, hey, there's Dean. So then, of course, then we saw each other, and yeah, by that point, those guys were enjoying the evening. They definitely, did all the work, and it was time to go and play. So they were walking around with a drink in their hand, as it were, something like that. So anyway, so Jim and I gave each other big hugs, and I said, "Hey, man, it was really, really. I'm glad I was able to go and come out to the last one and all that, and just as a personal thing, again, because of our relationship that started funny money wise." So then, as I was getting ready to leave, and originally I was only planning on being there in like 15 minutes, and we were there probably about an hour and a half whenever all this finally started. There's just I hadn't seen anybody since the whole Brett thing went, so just a lot of people coming up, being super cool to me, going, "Hey, congratulations," all that, and everything. So, but again, it wasn't about me. I just wanted to make sure that I was there, to say congrats, and kind of one on one with my friends and stuff. They might not even notice if I wasn't there at all. I didn't want to take that risk, because yeah, honestly, I was dead tired. I just wanted to go home at that point. But yeah, it's like I should go there. So anyway, and then we're getting ready to go ahead and leave, and I saw Steve talking with somebody else. And so again, I'm standing behind. There's a couple of chairs in between us. And as soon as that guy walked away, then Steve saw me, and of course, I immediately go, "Hey, I just want to say, congratulations, great job, and all that kind of stuff." And I said, "So you still feel good?" Because I talked to him a couple of weeks prior to that, and, just kind of catching up and stuff. And he goes, "Yeah, it's time and all that." And they're like, "So I'll see you in 2 weeks at the reunion show." And of course, he just kind of cracked up after that. Uh, but anyway, that was the part of the whole thing. But I stuck my hand out, just give a handshake, because there was chairs in between us. And he goes, "No, that won't do." So of course he came up in between the chairs, and we got that big hug. And luckily, somebody just happened to be around to go take photos of that, and I didn't know. And then they popped up on Facebook and stuff. I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." So what you saw, if you interpreted that as the happy and two friends actually, all that, that was legit. So I'm glad they kind of came through, as goofy as it is in the photos, because that's really how I felt. I was so glad that I didn't take the easy route out and go, "Yeah, I've been up for 30 hours. I'm tired. I want to go sleep." And I went out, and I did the right thing. Of course, that's what I should have done, but I can occasionally not do the right thing and go, "I'm taking the easy way out." So anyway, it was fantastic. And I apologize if I sound real weird. I got allergies or something going on today. So it
Hey,
sounded like I got the cotton all of a sudden there. So
nah, Dean, you sound fantastic, brother. Absolutely.
thanks, Dave.
Before I kick it over to Bobby and let him take it away, do you mind telling us and the fans a little bit about how you got involved in Funny Money? I mean, of course, there's a lot of Maryland history between yourself, Kicks, and just the local area, and it might even just be that simple. But we'd love to hear how you got involved in that band.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. It was, and I guess it was 95. uh, I had my own band solo, and
Yeah.
I since I was going to go and be the lead singer of it, I just wanted to be the best I could be. So I was looking for somebody, and I saw Steve in Maryland Musician, that the newspaper. He was giving an ad, or he had an ad in there that he was giving voice lessons. I'm like,
Yep.
literally never have I seen Steve suck on stage. So I was like, I'm going to give him a shot. So that went on for probably, I don't know if it was maybe 6 months worth, somewhere in there. So I was getting, a vocal lesson like once a week kind of deal. And I went to his house in Hagerstown, and I was up in Cumberland, so about an hour away. And he said, "Hey, if you can get me some more students up in the Cumberland area, then I'll come up there, and it saves me a drive and all that kind of stuff." So it's like, sure, I'll go ahead and do that. So I set that up, and then he also had some original stuff that he was working on. And he says, "You play guitar, right?" "Yeah." "Well, would you mind checking these out? Maybe come down and play some solos." So I went down to his house and laid down some solos for a couple songs, Monkey See, Monkey Do, and some other stuff. Uh, anyway, he goes, "Well, I knew you could play guitar, but I didn't know you could play it that well." I'm like, "Well, I don't know what that means, but I guess you're happy." So we went in, we did that. So that, like, one of the next lessons, then I said, "Hey, I'm getting ready to go ahead. I can't do anything else here in this area. So I'm either getting ready to uh, head down to Nashville, back out to California, or maybe even Florida, So I knew that he'd started the band at that point. And I said, but if you have any interest in having me involved in that band, then let me know. And so he went and he talked to the other guys, and Billy Andrews was the other guitar player, and they were just a 4-piece instead of 5, so just one guitar. And he said if Dean's interested in doing it, I play all the solos. So Dean's just a rhythm guitar player and stuff. I'm like, if I get to play with Steve Whiteman, I'm in. That's fine. I'll do whatever. So we went and he said, here's the songs. I know you're busy. In fact, I was in the middle of playing 12 out of 14 days in a row whenever he gave me these songs. So he gave me probably 6 originals and 6 kicks tunes. Of course, I was familiar, at least know what they should sound like, the kick stuff. So anyway, so I did woodshedding. And then the following Sunday, I went ahead and drove down to a rehearsal in Frederick, did it. At the end of it, he said, go ahead and give me till like Tuesday. Let us talk here, and then I'll let you know what we say like on Tuesday. So again, this was Sunday. I drove home, went into my girlfriend at the time's house, and the mom goes, somebody named Steve called and said you got the gig if you want it. So she had no idea who she was talking to or whatever. So it literally was that quick. So by the time I drove home, he'd made up the mind. And so then I think it was 2 weeks, maybe a month at the most, that after that happened, we started playing out. And 18 years after that, we finally broke up.
Oh,
It's crazy. It's actually very similar to Bret, which again, if you want that story, whatever for the podcast, that we'll do it then. But again, it was basically just the same idea where it was a Tuesday night, 16th of April, and I was teaching, and Pete called me, and we do this other thing called This, That, and the Other, or the Ultimate Acoustic Rock Show. I'm not sure what it's called at this point, but with Chad Stewart from Faster Pussycat,
Yeah.
and Eric Brennan in as well. So anyway, so we had a show coming up in New Hampshire like the following Saturday, but he called me on Tuesday, and I thought that's what he was calling to talk about, because he hates to talk on the phone. It's all text. So anyway, it's like, dude, I'm in the middle of teaching. Can I call you after I'm done at 9? Actually, do you have a minute you can chat now? Sure. He said, are you busy this weekend? I'm busy every weekend. It's how I make my living with this here thing. So he said, well, would you be interested and willing to go ahead and fly to Mississippi and play with Bret this Friday? And I'm like, yeah. So he went and he sent me the songs. I went and worked on that night after I got home. Got up the next day, taught for another 8 hours. Worked on the songs. Flew out of Dulles Thursday morning, because we always fly out the day before. So since that was a Friday, I flew out Thursday. So I left for Dulles at 4:15 a.m. on Thursday. Flew down to Mississippi. He and I got together somewhere along the line with a couple of acoustics, went over the songs for maybe about 15 minutes or so, just to make sure all the parts were kind of lining up and stuff. And then after that, then I just kind of stayed in the hotel, kind of woodshedding, went out, got dinner with everybody, but I didn't know anybody else whatsoever in the band, just Pete. And then so we were getting ready to go do sound check the next day at 9:30 in the morning, which was a great time of the day, I must say. Anyway, so he hits me up about 9 o'clock, says, hey, could you come down to the lobby so I can talk to you a minute? Sure. So I get down, and he said, Bret wants to know if you could come to Idaho tomorrow. And I'm like, well, would have been nice to know. I would have brought like a second shirt or something. And he said, basically, he's asking you to join the band. So if not, then this will probably be your only show that you get to play with us. But if not, basically, you're in the band and all that stuff. So it's like, do you need to talk to your wife, Sherry, or anybody else? It's like, you already know the answer to this. So, which I probably shouldn't say, because, I should, of course, say it. Well, of course, I need to talk to my wife. But, I already knew the answer and stuff. So anyway, that's what happened. So I said yes. So I played the show Friday with no rehearsals with the band. Just did it. I watched a bunch of live stuff and tried to figure out my way through there. And then, of course, then we flew out the following day, did that show. And that was a blast. And again, I've been here ever since. So once it started, it just never stopped, and that was that. So it literally came out of nowhere, kind of like with Steve. Just like I wasn't counting on it. Things happened within a couple of days. I'm in a new band with these guys.
That's awesome, man. Hell yeah. Bobby, let's kick it down to you, man. Let's let you take it away for a little bit, and then we'll bring in Angel and fans. Stay with us, because we will get to your questions for Dean.
So, Dean, I got to bring it up. Look, I'm good friends with CC and everything. So when you're out with Bret, uh, I'm friends with John Levin. John is definitely not George.
Right.
Same thing with you. When you go out with, how do you, everybody wants to hear the signature licks, but how do you bring in a little bit of, the Dean Cramer and do it?
Well, okay. Well, first off, Pete, like I said, whenever he brought me in, he is Brett's musical director. He's been with him for 22 years, I believe is what it is. And honestly, whenever I brought in like the little snip of that conversation where I was asked to play the next day and join the band stuff, Pete's words, he just kind of made a joke. Is like, hey, Brett's not interested in your guitar playing. He wants your vocals because Pete's heard me sing and stuff and harmonies and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And and Pete was immediately like, I don't mean that in a rude way. It's like, dude, I know exactly what you're talking about. You get hired for a specific job. If you have other skills, then you can go ahead and be in there. But straight up, Pete is Brett's lead guitar player. So I play like a little snippet when it comes to all that kind of stuff. And honestly, it's not even in a Poison song. Whenever we do Sweet Home Alabama, I play one of the little outro solos and stuff like that. So again, I wasn't hired to quote be a lead guitar player or something like that. That is Pete's job, and of course Pete does a great job of it and stuff. So, but I will say, just kind of go back to funny money stuff. I loved kicks, and for the most part, I was probably going to be playing at half, if not all the solos after a while and stuff. And I love this stuff, so I treated all the kick stuff as it should be. In other words, that's how it was recorded. That's how I know it. I'm a huge fan. I
Yeah.
don't want to hear Eddie Van Halen playing over top of Kicks music. I
Yeah.
just don't think it fits. And
No.
trust me, I love Edward Van Halen. You know,
Well, I
but
noticed
again,
from your
it's a
page
musical
as
decision.
well. I
Yeah.
noticed.
Well. Again, it. See, exactly. Exactly. It's just a musical. It's a personal musical decision. I'm sure that if Brett went to Pete and said, "Hey, play those solos note for note," Pete knows that's the job, and he's a professional. And that's
Yeah.
what he would do. Brett absolutely though gives him. Pete tries to basically hit the high notes, the stuff that everybody would recognize, but he's not worried per se about note for note stuff. If there's room for him to jam and put Pete in there. So, just like I said, I had a couple spots in Funny Money where and again, I could play whatever I want. Oh, sorry. You might, fair warning, you might very well see cats in and out of the thing
We
because
have
we have,
Jay. Look,
well,
we have more pussy
well,
on this
I
show
say
than
cool cat.
anything else,
Again,
except
I
here.
say cool cats. I just say cats in general wise. Right? Hi, Frida. That's Frida. She's our latest rescue. I'm sure it won't be the last. But so yeah, so to answer the question there in a nutshell is that Pete is Brett's lead guitar player. So I really don't do that. Whenever we've done some other shows, we've done with Lou Graham and Dee Snider and stuff, and
Yeah.
then I handle the lead duties for all the Foreigner stuff. We did 6 songs with Lou. So and Pete was like, I know you love that stuff. Have at it. That kind of stuff. So, and I try to do, note for note best as I can. If time allows me to truly put it in. I'm more like that. I don't think I could play a Van Halen song and not play a Van Halen Lux because I love what he did. I don't feel the need to add Dean into that.
Yeah.
I'm happy doing it. You know what I mean?
That's great.
Yeah. But I could also see by like with John and stuff, do I mean even CC doesn't do CC stuff live. It's
No,
a lot
no,
of it's I guess
CC.
whatever kind of
Look, I've been around CC. Look, I work with Adam, do a lot of stuff with Adam Reaver. So fu dash tone. So I get
yeah,
to
yeah,
see
yeah.
these guys on a different level, which is really cool.
Sure. Well, have you ever asked CC's like do you care if it's the solo on the record or not? Because a lot of
Well,
times he just goes off on a
I had
tangent.
the
They CC,
opportunity to talk to Joe Perry, and Joe was the same thing. He goes, "Why do I want to play the same thing over and over? You play the meat and the potatoes, but you give it, you know,
right?
that.
Right. Again, it's everybody's thoughts on it. Because, like I said, if we do if we do the rock thing, with Pete, Chad, and Eric, I want to get up there, and if I play, I don't know, right? It's like I want everybody to know that I can play that. I'm not here to go ahead and go, oh well, if he didn't play it accurately like Randy did, then he probably can't. And of
Yeah.
course, my pride makes me go, I want people to think I'm good, don't suck ass. And then the other part is like, I love Randy, so I have no problem learning it. It's great stuff. Again, I grew up. My first early guitar stuff was learning every single thing that Ace Frehley did. And then as I got quote a little bit more diverse, or should I say technically better, then of course then
What,
and
you
N
mean
word was
Ace
around already.
wasn't technical?
Well, that's just it though. But he's a lot more. He's not as easy as you might kind of initially think. If you
It's
start going,
hard to
there's some
play
stuff, some
sloppy.
solos.
It's the same thing as Keith. To do a Stones tune, if you got to sit here and go, unless you're doing heroin,
But yeah, well, if you want to do the Stones properly, I guess you have to dive into the well of it all. But no, again, if you play it too clean, it doesn't sound like the Stones.
no,
Stones are sloppy tight. If it's too tight, it wouldn't sound like the Stones.
of course.
That's what makes them the Stones, and that's what makes them great. You know. But it's the same stuff again with CC. I mean, I like the vast majority of his solos. Like, I mean, and if I were the one doing them, I would try to learn them exactly like that. Every now and again, there might be a little thing that just kind of sounds like a run that isn't, as you said, like meat and taters. Like everybody needs to hear that,
Yeah,
But if I did the solo, "Don't Close Your Eyes," there's only one solo for that, and if I mess it up, which I did one time before, funny money, we were playing probably in front of 1,000 people, and we had the ego boxes, that of course came from the whole Kicks camp. But I'm standing up there, and I hear the beginning of the solo, da 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 da, Jimmy, boom boom, da 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 da. I thought he hit it at the wrong time, completely threw me off, and that's one of those solos that if you get lost anywhere in it, good luck on getting back on track. Hotel California is probably the other one. It's so long that if you miss this part, just wait for the next part. Don't even try, you know what I mean? If you're trying to play it correctly, it's just super tough. And I jacked up that solo. The rest of it, might not be horrific, but it was horrific to me. And I
yeah,
said, so out of all the songs that I could have messed up, it's the one that everybody here knows what it's supposed to sound like. I felt like that tall after that song. I went back in front of my amp. I probably pouted, and that's who I am. But I probably was pissed off, and I was probably about ready to break into tears. 'Cause I'm like, how in the world? Come on, it just sucks. Anyway, so Steve came back, put my arm around me, and go, who gives a fuck? And if Steve doesn't care, then I shouldn't care. But I did. I still felt like that. I look at Jimmy, for hoping that Jimmy's not too mad at me for jacking up that classic solo. And Jimmy just goes like that and laughs. And he didn't care, And I realized, okay, well, that's where they're at, but unfortunately, that's not where this guy's at. So every single show, every Funny Money show after that, in the dressing room, I'm sitting there going over that solo once or twice, and then during the beginning of the song where Steve came in singing, I would go over it probably once again there. And you could call it paranoia, but I just didn't want to jack it up. It deserved to be played as best that I could do it. And
yeah.
wasn't that I didn't care, just I got thrown off my game, and from there on, it can't happen again. I'm just crazy like that. I don't recommend it. It'll drive you nuts, and it'll drive the people who listen to you nuts too. Sorry, go ahead.
Nah, man.
Very cool.
Absolutely, 100% for sure. Angel, let's kick it over to you, my friend. Yourself has been very patient. The Metal Summoners have been very patient. Let's bring in some fan questions for Dean. And how are you doing this evening, my friend?
I'm doing awesome.
Hey, you got a great name, by the way. Do you like
Thank you.
Angel the band?
Loving.
Yeah, I like Angel, Alamo Dome. That's another cool one.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm a huge Angel fan as well too. So good stuff. But anyway, yes.
We got our first fan question. There we go. What was the first band you were in called, and what was it like?
I was a freshman. I was 14. I've been playing in bar since I was 14 and a half. So that was probably like 1979. I think. I graduated 83, so that's probably 79, 80, whatever it is. First band was called Aries, Ariez, because S would be too easy to remember. And that's actually how you're supposed to spell it. So Aries, the god of war. I don't know what that had to do with anything other than we thought it was cool. And that's actually what it was. And it was great. And we played, I was a singer, a rhythm guitar player. And we did, of course, Kiss stuff, Van Halen, Rush. Try to think if Maiden, if we were quite into Maiden by then, Priest, all that. In fact, that was actually what real quick. That was one of the cool things is that me and the other guitar player, Tim Haynes, we came in from a Kiss Van Halen camp. The drummer came in from a Rush camp, and then our bass player came in from Priest. So we all kind of maybe walked up and go, "Hey, here's our favorite record. Let's do something off of this." I just always remember the bass player coming in and his introduction to us, musically wise, was Unleashed in the East. So we made it all. So we had enough commonality. We end up liking all that stuff. Still love all that stuff to this day.
We're going to get to 2 guitar questions, and I'm going to include Bobby on this one.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I'm gonna let Bobby speak
You have
first, so he doesn't
to-
sound like an idiot.
You have to let go. You have to let go of your guitar collection and only get to hold on to 2 guitars. What 2 guitars are you staying with?
Bobby, what say you?
Me right now? Wait, I'll bring it in.
It's only 2 guitars, Bobby. Not 2,000. That's about how many guitars he would have.
Oh well, hey, I'd be the same, but I think that I've maxed out at like 60 couple, which is a lot. And as my wife reminds me, I can only play one at a time. But not that I agree with that. I'm just saying that's what she would tell
My girlfriend's the same way too, because I'm always looking to buy new basses or certain guitars if they strike my fancy and stuff. She's like, "Babe, like we have a 2-bedroom apartment. You have over 30 guitars, and it's keep in mind it's a 2-bedroom apartment." I'm like, "But babe."
Yeah, but it was
Now,
hey,
Angel,
you
is he saying only 2?
Only 2 guitars, yep.
Only
can only keep
2.
2, sir.
Yep, that's what
So
that's what Brian says.
It would have to be this,
Nice.
which,
Is that Uncle Ted?
yeah, from Theodore, my 68
Is it?
Birdland.
Wow. I've always wanted one of those, or at least to check it out. But honestly, I love the look. I mean, Ted's what he is that guitar, and they're all short scale, right?
It's kind of like a Trini Lopez. Yeah, it's got a thin neck.
Okay.
So it's a 68 Birdland. And
Love that.
then this, which is, look, you don't find these anywhere.
So what precisely? Obviously, I recognize the generalness of it, but what are we talking about?
You got to get a bit specific on this one, Bobby.
This has got a lot of EVH love in it. Let's just put it that way.
Well, are you saying that it's a legit EVH guitar? As far as an Edward guitar?
It's an original Cramer.
Okay.
From Neptune, New Jersey.
Gotcha.
It's an original cigarette butt from Mr. Edward.
Nice.
Wolfie Pick, Adam Love, all done. And so it's the Ed specs. Let's just put it that way.
So where did you get that at?
I'd have to kill you if I told you. No,
That's all right.
no,
That's all right. I don't care. I mean, is that like a friend of a friend hooked you up?
Yeah, well, I'm
Okay.
very close with Adam, so it's
Okay.
I mean,
I got
look, there's shit that these guys know. I have shit here that'll blow your doors off.
Nice.
You talked about Randy, And this you'll never see anywhere. And I got to thank John Wolford at Gibson for doing this for me. So this is 74 with a Floyd, and he did it for my mom with inlay in here. So it's basically a Randy with a Floyd.
Wow. It's actually a 74?
Yeah, it's a 74.
Wow. So how long did it take once you figured out what you wanted done?
A year.
Did you get it done at Gibson?
Yeah. Yeah.
How long of a process was that?
A year.
Okay.
And then
And they only charge you like,
I got a 59 back here too. So,
oh, you're killing me, Smalls. Yeah. But for the Gibson thing, they only charge you like 350 bucks for all that, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like times 10 is what I'm gonna guess. So,
well, maybe this. Yeah, this is my 59.
oh, a legit 59?
Yeah.
Man, yeah, that and of course look at the so it looks like it has a pretty decent top on it, yes?
Look, it's got Angel, you love people who take their tops. Yeah, it's a lemon burst. It's beat the shit.
What is the top up around the toggle switch? Is that still darker then?
Yeah, right there.
Wow. You suck. Congratulations.
Well, I do that too, but
well, that sounds like a completely different podcast to me.
wait a second.
That's our
We got a 54.
that's our OnlyFans podcast.
So we got a 54 here.
Dang.
Wow. All original?
Pretty much. Yeah, this is it's got a couple little bit of mods to it that I tweaked out on it, but
you should sell that for like $1,000 to me then. That's not worth hardly anything.
Well,
Well, yeah.
You could come
But
up here
actually,
and
I saw.
record.
Well, I was on Facebook Marketplace just actually today, just happened to pop up. But I saw somebody has a PAF on there, and they want $9,000 for the pickup. And I'm just like, that's
My
where we're at and
first
everything. But
Cramer in 1982. Which,
good Lord.
Yeah. Original Neptune, New Jersey.
Nice.
So, and then these guys know. So we had a woman on here. So this was Jennifer Batten's guitar that she used on the Bad Tour.
Oh, okay. I recognize that. I didn't recognize it as being from the Bad Tour, but yes, I recognize her guitar.
Yeah, it's when she did the shit with Michael. And when she was
Isn't that crazy? But you know what's even crazier is that one guy has all that stuff, and I think it's great because number one, he's clearly somebody who they're not in a vault somewhere. They're in his house hanging
they're in my
out.
studio. They're sitting here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And I mean, I am one of those that if I had a 59, you'll see somebody like Joe Walsh say, man, yeah, I got a 59. I'll take it out and I'll go ahead and play it on the road. Now, of course, anything can happen to it. We know how much those things can go for. And of course, they're going to go for more because they're associated with Joe Walsh. However, if it's already beat up and Joe Walsh has enough security around. Right. And again, they were built in 59. There was nobody knew that anybody was going to care about 1959 Les Paul anywhere in the future. They were building guitars, selling them next, all that kind of stuff. So unless I see like a really minty example of something, then I don't mind kind of laying hands on it, that kind of stuff. Just because I think if it survived this long, being in great shape, I'm like, okay, let this be one of the last ones rather than, oh, it's a piece of wood. Let's just play
Dean, you and I are probably around the same age.
I'll be 58 in November.
I'll be 60 next year.
There you go.
I'll be a sextarian. Wow, think about that. So
yeah.
I worked I was with Peavy, so I had the blessings from a gentleman who let me use this guitar.
And then he walks in with Jimmy Page's double neck, the one they actually recorded the live version of Stairway to Heaven on. I'm just saying. Yeah, no, it is. I do love.
He does have Jason Bonham's guitar kit. I mean, drum
There
kit.
you go. There you go. Well,
So,
like I said, though, it's super cool. Again, it's there to touch and everything. It's not getting beat up, but it's being enjoyed.
That's our our
Oh, there you
beloved
go.
Jason.
Yeah, this was Hartley and my buddy Tony Pasco and everything. So the original, this is based off the original. As you notice, there's no PV logo on here because it came from Jason Specs. This whole thing, Seymour did all the pickups for me and everything. So this is all Jason's baby. But the really cool thing is Jason gave me the blessing to do that, but he gave me the blessing to do this badass thing
then. Crazy.
So, Dean, do you have two guitars? Which two guitars would you keep?
If I had to keep it acoustic, I'm not like I don't have the means, to be blunt about it. To go ahead and go with.
Dean, this is.
Oh, there it is. I almost called it. I just had the wrong guitar player.
Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
This I designed, which is a tweak on Jason's guitar. So it's a 6 and a 12. But if you notice the top, where this came from, Spinal Tap. FG, you know.
Nice.
Nice.
So this
is
the
detail, sir.
Yeah, this is a one-off that Ed Roman, there was a guy named Alan Dreyer who built it for me, and with the love of Hartley, Peavy, and Tony Pasco. But
wow.
Yeah, shit like this never be made.
Well, now, did you know Ed? I didn't know him, but I just knew of him.
Ed Roman?
Yes.
Yeah, I had to sue him.
Oh, well, that was kind of following into where my next question was, is, I've heard some less than desirable things about his business practices or whatever, but I don't know.
Ed was a Richard Cranium. He loved to take things from other people without checking, hey, I'm going to do this and let me just put it out on my own. I'm going, dude, that's Peavy's. So Hartley went after him. I went after him. And it was a bunch
I assume Jason would have went after him.
Yeah, but the bad thing there is people took advantage of Jason. It's a shame. There was a company that I worked with called Paradise Guitars out of Jersey, and they really fucked over Jason really bad. Till Cramer came in and redid a bunch of shit that Jason did, and they gave me a bunch of stuff, and we worked on that end right there. Yeah. So, but look, I have more shit in here. Guitars to me are kind of like Angel with Women,
Oh, hello. He just called out like he saw it, I'm thinking.
Oh, man, that Angel guy gets around.
Look, and Angel just sits there and just laughs. Wow. Stop.
I'm like
he's working on his reputation as we speak.
But then we got... Look, I have as much wood as Angel does.
Oh, I heard that. There you go.
Nice. So, Dean, I got to ask you real quick. So right now I'm working on a book based on a thing I did here, and we're kind of working on it. I'm working with Mark Weiss and a couple things. And it's basically going to be, how good do you know your wood? And I have over 170 guitars. So some shit I have that, people go, I did not know that. I mean, I have things here. I have the last guitar that was used on the last Bowie tour from Earl Slick, and just
cool
shit like that. Wait, shit like this that nobody has.
Wait, there's more.
There's definitely more. Fans, hang tight because after this segment, I am going to kick it back to Angel because we got to get the Metal Summoners back in
All
there.
right. So these are the last two before we get in. So Dean,
Oh, there you go.
look, if you're an Ibanez guy,
Well, I see that's a Paul Gilbert, or
of
no,
course,
I guess it
yeah,
wouldn't be.
from '96, which were never issued in the States.
I just recognize the F holes on it. That's what made me think of Paul Gilbert, the F holes on it.
Yep.
And then this.
It's missing the fringe that he tends to put on them, but
which I just got from Europe, and I just had him over here. You know, we just did an event with him with Mr. Ron Bumblefoot.
I gotcha.
You know, which
see, but
now
when you get that stuff,
now
do you actually search that, or does somebody go, "I got guitars"?
No, I did an event with Ron for autism and everything, and I asked him about this. So these were limited runs. All the paint on this is, you know, the VGAs are built in France. You know, it's stainless and everything. So the paint on this is a Peugeot from the car dealership. Now, the really cool thing is Ron he has a thimble on these. You know, he uses it as a slide.
Oh, I gotcha.
And I was like, what a fucked up thing. But I've never played a fretless guitar. And when I seen him play this, I was like, that is so fucking badass. You know, we were talking about Guns N' Roses earlier, and it's just, you know, listen, if anybody listens to any of the Sons of Apollo stuff, you know,
right.
Ron's shit is just totally over the top.
Even Art of Anarchy.
Bobby, you might want to keep that guitar around for a future episode. Just saying.
So, Dean, I got to ask you, what would be your visionary guitar? What is that guitar that you just sit there and go, fuck, that's, you know, the holy grail. It's the, you know, that thing that you're chasing. If you were like Harrison Ford, what are you going after?
Well, do you mean as in one I would love to have, or one I would love to have built?
What is that one guitar? You know, I'm still after a couple of them that I really, you know, am like.
Well, I might have. I know my search will be much shorter after I visit your house. Anyway, yeah, I mean, for me, again, just it would be like you know, I want maybe you know, a guitar that obviously one of our multiple heroes have played. You know, I mean, I couldn't imagine getting Brian May's Red Special or, you know, any of those, because I think the guitars go ahead and
should I go get it?
I think that they do have like the Mojo stuff. Well, you know, I mean,
no, yeah, but is there that guitar? Is there one guitar that you look? There was a lot of them that I chased as a kid that just made me go, "Fuck! I really got to get that." I just have to.
I don't know. I mean, well, because what I end up doing is I end up playing whatever guitar at the time. Like with Bret, originally I brought out a PRS, like a Starla, and then I was able to go ahead and put the PV Wolfgang in there, and now I've just been essentially just the PRS is complete backup, because the PRS or the Wolfgang works great. I've had it for probably 20 years. It's purple. Both my guitars are purple. I'm a happy clam with all that kind of stuff. But you know, if I could get like a famous guitar.
Now, what is it? EVH Wolfie, or is it?
It's a PV.
So that's what I have. I have one of the original. I have the low numbers, first ones of
all the patent pending stuff.
Yeah, it was all the shit that he did, and right there, right after he left, you know, Ernie Ball and, you know, Music Man.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, any of the stuff like I bought, you know, the Charvel reissues of Ed. So I wasn't a big fan per se of the red, black, and white, just because I love the black and white. I love the black and yellow. And the red, black, and white, of course, the only thing is kind of really weird about that. If I could get any one guitar just to kind of go, here it is, yeah, I'd be like, Wolfie, can I hold that guitar for 30 seconds? Yeah, the red, black, and white one. because
Well, if you're
that
getting a
is
chance
the
to go out
guitar
to
to
Winter
me.
NAMM, I was just with Wolf and those guys with Metallica. And Adam Burke, he and Wolf are running EVH right now. Wolfie's got a new guitar coming out, which is the SA 126, which is Ed's birthday. And it's basically a 335, but it's the Ed. All
Right.
the notes going down the neck are E's and everything. So it's an
Oh,
E hole
get it.
on it instead of an F. So if you look at it, yeah.
I got it. When's that come out?
It's going to be introduced at Winter NAMM.
Okay.
So, but that
Yeah.
it's that kind of thing. But look, I'm a big Les Paul guy. I grew up, growing up in the era of Ace, Frampton, Ted, anybody who sat there and just kicked your ass with a Les Paul across the stage.
Sure. Oh
You
yeah, yeah.
know,
Again, I'm the same way. The whole, I'm completely Ace and Frampton. All I wanted, my very first guitar was a Honda 2 with Super DiMarzio's in it, and it was a black one. And then I bought white pickup mounting rings because they had to look like Ace and Frampton as far as I was concerned, and I was
yeah.
happy with a $250 guitar. You know, so that's still, but I do love a beautiful burst. I mean, the wood's just killer and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I like all that kind of stuff, but you know, uh,
Like
but
I
again,
said,
I wouldn't,
you got
I
to
can't
go
afford
with
to buy all the signature models. You know what I mean? So
well,
what's the gold one?
this number
Oh, is
3.
that Townsend?
Yeah, it's Pete.
That's a Townsend, right? Yeah,
Yeah, it's the pancake that they did the first run.
gotcha.
And then this is a 79 burst.
Adam Jones.
No, this is Aces.
No,
This is a
it's
79. Wait, this is
oh,
Adams.
see, maybe think about that being that.
So I just got this today. This is Adams.
Ah, there you go. See, it shows you how uninformed I am on all that.
Well,
There
if
you
you
go.
look at the back, which is really cool, he did a whole run of these Eppies that are all done by artists.
I did see that. Yeah, they're putting out like a new series or whatever.
Yeah. And I didn't even take the shit off it. I mean, it just came to me today. So
Yeah, I don't know. They're too bad. Excuse me. Oh, thanks. I'm battling the sniffles, guys. Sorry.
No worries,
But
man.
I will
Absolutely.
say, as far as real quick, just a nutshell for me. So if I was doing the two guitars, that if I had to keep them, with the acoustics again, I only have one that I really really love. I love the Breed Loves as far as their workhorses, and I play them all day long.
yeah.
But a J45, and
Oh,
Gibson said it's between a 62 and a 64. I got it. I was working at a pawn shop, and it was hanging on the wall, had like 3 strings on it. And I was working at the pawn shop. To go, hey, I'll do repairs, and then you give me credit towards anything I wanted to hear. So I walked in, saw it, called Gibson to make sure it was legit. They told me all about it. I cleaned it up, and I go, okay, how much you want for that guitar? $200. Sold. So I've used it in the studio with pretty much about everything I've done because it sounds fantastic and it plays great, but I didn't want it to go anywhere. And honestly, it is my only old acoustic guitar that I have. Everything else I play until they need refretted and I buy a new one. That's how I roll. And then as far as the electric stuff, I love lots of those guitars, but the Hamer, I have a Hamer Standard, and I brought it out for 2 dates on the Bret tour, only because my wife and I were close enough to drive. We went to Roanoke on one and went to Hershey the other. So we actually drove, came home, drove, and went to the next one. So I could keep it in my possession because I've just heard too many horror stories about, shipping around. And it's like, I can't replace this. I think, do you guys know Greg Platzer?
yeah.
I would think that
Greg
you would.
does all.
There you go.
I bought a bunch of shit from Greg, and I are great friends.
There you go. So I've known Greg, for
Oh,
probably, I don't know, it's
love
been
him to
10,
death.
15 years. Yeah. Greg's a hoot. And as you know, he builds replicas for like Brad Gillis and Lita Ford,
Yep.
all those, ones that you'll go ahead and you'll buy. at meet and greets and stuff like that. Greg takes care of all that kind of stuff. Or I'm sorry, that's Jim Carrey. But Greg Platzer repairs everybody else's guitar
Jim
and or
is a
builds.
fucking psychopath, and I love him to death. But
There
what
you
a
go.
crazy son of a bitch!
Oh yeah. Well, so I went and he brought out I brought out the Hamer to those two shows I was saying this summer, and he said he goes, I think they only made that for like 1 or 2 years with dots. I wanted the nice big crown inlays on it. I think this is gorgeous. But anyway, I only found the dot one, and that was probably like 15 years ago. And I think it's like a 90, 95. Anyway, the thing plays great. As soon as I put it on, everybody else is like, you need to be playing that all the time. Put the Wolfgang back in the thing and everything. And that particular show, so I started doing it. With those two, I start the show off with the Hamer, and then would switch to another guitar. But Greg went ahead and brought out his Joe Perry limited edition of whatever they're like, one of 20, one of 40, and he said, "Hey, you want to play this?" I'm like, and then he told me how much it would be to replace it. I'm like, I'm letting you know, I'm not going to baby this. Of course, it's already beat up anyway, because it's already relic and all that stuff. But nonetheless, and that was a phenomenal guitar. But so if I had to stick with one guitar, probably be the Hamer Standard that I love, and one acoustic is simply the J45. So
I
sorry that
love
got so long winded on my end, but nonetheless, I love looking at Bobby's collection. That's
it.
crazy.
Hey, I'm only in Pennsylvania. You can get your ass up here.
I absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, let's make a play date, brother.
All right.
Oh,
Oh yeah, no worries, Dean. You're all good, man. Bobby and I especially love to talk gear and talk shop, dude. So you have nothing to worry
We're
about
gear
here.
whores.
But Angel, we do need to steer it back to you, buddy, because let's get some more questions in for the fans.
yeah. How emotional was Kick's last song at the farewell show?
For me, it was I don't know. They wrapped it up very nicely because I wasn't quite sure what they were going to do, and I thought that everybody should get their due and their proper amount of due, for that matter. And I honestly didn't quite know what they were gonna do. I mean, I talked more to the crew guys and Steve on occasion, but that was usually my any inside information and stuff. So I knew how they were starting off with and then that kind of stuff. But whenever they did it, they brought out Brad, Brad Divins to go ahead and come out and play. So then you had, four guitar players up there. Four, right? Is that right? Four.
Yeah, I've seen
And
that.
yeah. So that was super cool. But what I thought was coolest of the whole stuff, the last song is the last song, and it was more just like the last moment is really what it boiled down to. But Steve went ahead and introduced everybody in the crew, and thanked everybody. First brought them on stage. That was fantastic because Funny Money, we had the same crew guys as what Kicks did. We had them. Kicks had them, and then Funny Money ended up having them, and then Kicks ended up taking them back. All that stuff. So, but it was even cooler for me because there was like three times in there, I think, where Steve mentioned, yeah, after Kicks broke up, I started Funny Money and we did this. And so he didn't, per se have to mention the word Funny Money. And it wasn't like an ego thing, but it was nice that he didn't kind of just gloss over like, wow, we were together for all that time. And, I think we kind of helped keep the Kicks in people's ears and eyes and stuff for whatever little thing that is and stuff. But so anyway, it was great. Again, my emotional thing was more at the end, saying to talking to Jimmy and Steve, all that kind of stuff. Would you stop? Sorry, it's my cat driving me nuts here. Sorry. Hey, more cats. All right. But anyway, it was great. It was great. It really was. I think they did it right. And I don't think that they walked off with any regrets of wish we would have stuff. I think they all agree it was time.
And let's see, question: what musician or band made you want to play?
The first, I always tell everybody, kind of surprise everybody. Thing that probably got me into music wise was the Osmonds, and we're talking like 1971 when I was like 5. So I had no idea about the musical aspect of whatever. I just knew that I loved the Osmonds, and so by the time I first got in the first band, uh, the other guy who I mentioned earlier in ninth grade, Tim Haynes, his older brother was playing with my older brother Gary in a band. So about 6 months after maybe they got together, he and I were like, hey, let's go ahead and, let's jam out and see what happens and stuff like that. So all the stuff leading up to there. But I did eventually meet the Osmonds, three of the Osmond brothers up in Wimber, PA, at a small theater and stuff. We saw the show. My brother and I went up. Afterwards, went out in the lobby. And they were meeting people, and I had a bunch of stuff to sign. And I told Merrill, the lead singer, it's like, uh, you're I'm sure you've heard this before, but you're actually probably the biggest reason why I got into music whenever I did. I just didn't realize I was getting into it. And of course, typical Osmond's fashion, he was as sweet and as focused on me as he could be, and the genuine thank you, the handshake, and all that kind of stuff. And so I'd say the Osmonds really kind of kicked it off for me. And then as I finally eventually got to the point, and originally I was going to be a drummer. I wasn't going to be a guitar player, and I wasn't going to be a singer. I wanted to be a drummer, and that probably came from two things. The Osmonds had a song called "My Drums," and which is very drum based of a song. And then the other thing was, of course, Peter Criss, "Alive," 100,000 years. Just like, oh, all that solo and everything like that. So those are the two things that got me wanting to be a drummer. And I got a little kit, and I just kind of beat around on it. And that was probably more like 7th, 8th grade kind of stuff. And then whenever I first got in the band, that Aries group, I was actually just supposed to be the singer, no guitar or anything else for that matter. And we needed a second guitar for some rhythm parts and the harmony parts on like Detroit Rock City. So since I wasn't doing anything, Tim, the other guitar player who had only been playing about 6 months before that, which I didn't find that out for decades later, he showed me the basic chords and stuff. So I've never taken guitar lessons. I've never taken drum lessons for that matter. But so once I got going and he showed me those basic chords, every week we had new songs to learn. And within, probably, I don't know, 3-6 months, we were out playing, and I've never stopped since. But there wasn't any, again, there wasn't any lessons. And then whenever Randy Rhoads came along, he really helped me dive in whenever I was reading guitar magazines, and he had 50, 60 students, whatever it was. I'm like, oh, he's really, really good. And he knows music theory, which I know nothing about. So I started going to the library, just reading anything I could and try to decipher it myself. So I am self-taught from that aspect. And so whenever I started teaching, I had to kind of figure out, music theory, what made sense to my brain. So when I had to teach to somebody else, instead of going the long way around and making somebody a music major, I'm like, let's just get to the parts that we actually need. So that's what I did. So again, I've been teaching all these decades now, but a lot of people might come in and go, yeah, I've been playing for 20 years. And it'll go, okay, show me some basic stuff, like, so I can see what so we can jump in. And they won't know, kind of basic music theory. And it's incredibly simple. If you count to 7, you can do music theory. It's that simple. But it's all about how it's explained afterwards. So I said what makes sense to me rather than the big educated guess. I got the real world way of thinking of things. And so it's much more of a shortcut, a straight line and stuff. So I think a lot of people appreciate it like that. But that's what got me in there. Drums and the Osmonds.
Nice.
Sports question. Who's your favorite Oriole?
Ooh.
Today and all
You
time.
asked me the day after Brooks passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course, again, he's I grew up, of course, growing up in the 70s wise, that's my classic, I was too young, whenever I was 10 to 15 by the time that passed. But then, of course, then, I'm going to have to go with Cal. If I had seen Brooks play and got to experience the everything that is Brooks, but I did get to meet him one time at the warehouse. They did like a private signing for you whatever, kind of won a lottery, and we're able to go ahead and meet and greet him kind of stuff. So, and that was probably maybe 3 years ago, I'm guessing. I'm trying to think if it was before or after COVID, but he was as sweet as could be. I mean, everything you could hope for, he was. Plus, he's like that, just that excellent kind of grandfather. And you're walking up, and to me, he's greatness. All these other musicians we talk about, Wayne Osmond, he's greatness to me. But to him, he looks in the mirror, he goes, "I'm Wayne Osmond. Who cares?"
I'm a Brady Anderson.
But Brooks again, the exact same thing. So yeah, I'll say Cal Robinson. How about that?
Nice.
But
I'm a
look at that new team. Look at that new team, boys. Gunner, Adley. Oh man, come on.
yeah,
Cedric.
dude.
It's
Sick, dude.
tough.
Yeah. I'm a Brady Anderson guy myself.
Absolutely.
I was big
Yeah,
into
Brady.
I was
Of
big
course,
into Brady.
Brady and Cal were kind of glued at the hips there for all those years as well,
They definitely
and
were for
everything.
sure. My girlfriend liked Adam Jones. She thought he was just awesome.
Now, see, I look around real quick because my wife is a huge Adam Jones fan.
Oh, really?
Oh, 110. Well, I am too. Actually, if I took you out to my kitchen, you would see I have two. You know those banners that they hang on the way walking into Camden Yards.
Mhm.
We have two of them hanging up. Top one's Adam Jones, the bottom one's Manny Machado. We bought those based, and then the other side I think is BJ is on the other side, and trying to think of who's on the other side of the other one. Probably Chris Davis. Let's
I,
not talk about Chris Davis right now. We're
I
having a
love
good time. Let's
I
just
love
go.
the fact that you've got Adam Jones above Manny Machado. So you've got the saint and the sinner.
Again, unintentional, except it probably was that Jonesy just probably, yeah, again, I still love Manny for what he did here. It just
Sure.
sucks whenever money talks, and at the end of the day, that's really what it boils down to. But yeah, the new team looks great. Got my fingers crossed for the next 3 weeks.
Absolutely, man. 100%. Right back to you, Angel.
Your favorite place to play?
Ooh, I love Rams Head. Rams Head Live in Baltimore. I've done so many shows there with Kicks, and did a couple other ones with some other bands and stuff. So far, as far as like a smaller venue, that's easily the place. And they treat everybody great. Everybody's there just to have a good time and have a great show. So there's no attitudes, all that kind of stuff, and the crowds are always fantastic. Go Baltimore, but bigger outside stuff. It's actually pretty easy for me to answer so far. Guilford, New Hampshire. We played up there. That was part of the Party Girl tour this summer. And I got off the bus. Of course, everybody had their own bus, be it Starship, Night Ranger, the crew. So we had say 4 buses toting around the whole time. And I got off. Of course, I'm the late sleeper, so trying to catch some sleep somewhere. Sound checks usually aren't till 2 or 2:30 in the afternoon. So in theory wise, I don't have to do anything till 2 or 2:30 in the afternoon. Anyway, so I probably crawled out of the bus about 10 o'clock in the morning, which is still early for me, I might add. But anyway, I'm trying to experience this stuff rather than catch up on sleep. So I get out and I'm looking, and Donnie Baldwin, the bass or the drummer for Starship, is sitting there riding a bike that surely was issued like 1975. You can just tell it's an old bike and everything. And he's riding around. Have you guys seen? Of course, I'm sure Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid.
Yeah.
So there's the scene where they're out kind of riding on the old fashioned bikes and just kind of like loving life. That's what it looked like to me. Because, Donnie's probably, I think he's like early 70s. So it's just honestly not that common to go ahead and see any older gentleman out riding a bike. And he looked like he was like 12 again, just out there. It was a gorgeous day and everything. So the next thing you know, I'm walking around and I see somebody's on a Hot Wheel or a big wheel, that came out in the 70s that I grew up on. There's like 3 or 4 of them sitting over there. I'm like, what's going on? Is this like a time warp thing? There's a tandem bike there. There was a trike there. Uh, and then you walk into catering, and Chris, the keyboard player for Starship, sitting there writing a postcard. I'm like, are you writing a postcard? And he goes, yeah. And he reaches in this little box there, pulls it out, lays down a pen. He goes, here, it's already stamped. I'm like, this place is incredible. So literally all you do is you fill it in, and then there's the mailbox, and they mail it for you. And I'm like, this can't be real and everything. So then you go over, and there's another section in catering where there's 8 rows of candy, like the big, like Swedish fish and whatever else, gummy worms, all that kind of stuff. Boxes and boxes of them. And there you can have whatever you want. It's insane. They had the little things of cotton candy, little tubs. You can have as many as you wanted. And I kid you not, that probably sounds goofy and everything, but it really was. And I'm trying to think of it was like. It wasn't like Lake Okeechobee, but it was something along those lines. And so it really was like you went to summer camp, and all of a sudden you're 14 and you can have anything you want to do at summer camp. That's exactly how this place was. And it was. It was. Oh yeah. So swag. It's always cool. It's nice if you whatever you get a koozie and it has the name of the place. For me, I collect everything, so it's nice. It's a nice little memory. So we get there, and not only can you get any of the stuff, somebody else walks back on the bus and they have a mug, they have a metal water bottle, they have socks, and all of it has the name of the place on it. I'm like, where'd you get that at? Oh, it's right there on the shelves beside the other stuff. I'm like, so I walk, of course, I run back over there and I grab like one of everything, stuff it down to my stuff. So I got that. And then at the end of the night, they all brought out hoodies. This is not it, by the way. I'm pushing. This is Brett's Party Girl thing. We have Party Girl 2 is coming up, by the way. If you haven't been there, you need to be. But anyway, so that at the end, they at the beginning of the tour, they always go ahead, they give you management will say, "Hey, what do you like? Food wise, drink wise, something like that. What size do you wear? Shirt, pants, or whatever? Because you never know." Anyway, so we walked into our dressing rooms at the end of the night, and we all had our own size hoodies that said, Bret Michaels Band, Guilford, New Hampshire, uh, like that right there. So it was all embroidered and everything like that. So that was easily and it's goofy. It's all the behind the scenes stuff. All the shows have been fantastic. Crowds have all been great. So I don't complain over any of them, but the backstage stuff. And they had a little arcade there. It had an air hockey, which I wish my wife was there because I'm all about that. Pinball. I'm all about that. They had a Frogger or whatever, maybe asteroids, one of those multi games. And then they had the golf, shoo, that kind of stuff. That was all backstage at this Guilford, New Hampshire thing. And I believe it might already be back on the schedule already. So I'm like, nice. So you guys need to come out to the show. I'll bring you back and I'll show you around the camp that is backstage there. It's killer.
Sounds sick. I used to live in New Hampshire, so that's cool.
Oh, well, yeah, and even all the buildings look like you were in New Hampshire, and they look like you were at a camp in New Hampshire. So it's either a miniature house that looked like it belonged to New Hampshire, all the pretty neat looking wood slatty stuff, and that, or again, it was a big thing that looked like that's where all the kids go to eat, and then go run off like a bunch of crazy people. It was insane. It was great.
Nice.
Loved it.
Oh yeah.
That sounds like a road trip.
Sounds
Oh,
good.
well, again, you guys need to come out. You come out, and I'll treat you.
Sweet.
Free cotton candy.
Down for that, man.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite song of all time?
Ooh, I think that I don't know because I'll tell you that I love 20 billion songs and I genuinely love 20 billion songs. I will say that when I think if anybody ever comes up and goes, "Hey, what do you think the greatest song of all time is?" I'll say again I got time. I got 20 billion of them. But if somebody goes, what do you think is maybe the greatest one that you've heard? I'd say Bohemian Rhapsody.
Nice.
Because I would never ever, and I'd say kind of greatest song written in the grand scheme of things. Because I can like a 3-chord song as much as I can. Everything is in Bohemian Rhapsody, but not being British, an American person isn't going to write anything at all that sounds like Bohemian Rhapsody. Because all the British people they grow up on opera and all that stuff, and then they brought it all in there. It's like none of this sounds like typical stuff that I would ever write. But it did open up my brain to go, oh, you can do anything that you want, you know. But yeah, to try to replicate something that's great, Hotel California is pretty tough to beat too.
Yeah.
It just has everything. Lots of Eagle songs, all that stuff like what you call it, One of These Nights by the Eagles. Like, oh man, all those little pieces in there, their harmonies are stellar beyond belief, you know. But I think honestly, a lot of the stuff that I like is probably next level. I could just tell, uh, musically wise, that these people really aren't about like, yeah, that's good enough. Because I'm never that's good enough, except for around the house cleaning up. Then my wife's like, you know, or remember what day the garbage goes out. Same time for the past 14 years, same days, but I'll miss it half the time. But
Well,
no, for me musically wise, it's kind of the one thing that I'm super stickler on. That just like with the "Don't Close Your Eyes" solo, if I jack it up, I hate myself. I don't care about the rest of the world. I just hate myself. Probably not healthy, but it keeps me from doing it twice in a row.
Question from DK from King and Valentina. He wants to know your first guitar, and do you still have it? And if you don't, what happened to it?
Great question. The Hondo 2 was actually the second guitar that was brought into the house, and that was a fabulous guitar. And again, because Ace Frehley, that's exactly why we wanted it. But the first guitar was actually a GC Murphy guitar that was $79, I believe, is what it was. And my brother, being 3 years older, he originally wanted to be a drummer, and then so he had the little practice, the little lunch meat looking pad to practice on. Then I picked up drumsticks and started doing it, whatever like that. He wanted to be a guitar player, so he got that. Next thing you know, I'm picking up guitar and just kind of plunking around on it. And that was the GC Murphy guitar. It was cheap, but eventually it got sanded down. And well, I don't even be honest with you, I don't even know if we sanded it down. We just painted it like Eddie Van Halen. We striped that bad boy up. That was it. And then shortly after, we would have had the Honda 2 Les Paul, and that guitar was great. I don't have any of the very very first guitar, the Honda 2. I have the body and the neck, I think, because I think I ended up putting they were DiMarzio's Super Distortions or Super Twos. I think they were Super Distortions, and then we put them. I eventually put them in another guitar, and yeah, I do wish who would have known that 40 years later I wish that I had my original just because I like to have like my what is it? What I'm looking for? My artifacts from my process of getting here. But yeah, so have a little bit of the second guitar left, but it's not playable. It's in two pieces, neck and body.
Here's a good question. If you had to pick one, never play guitar again or shave your head.
Shave your what? Oh.
You have to choose one. Never play guitar again or shave your head.
Yeah. It's Chrome Dome, baby. Yeah, that's not even close. It's Chrome Dome. That's coming. Oh, that's coming off. Yeah. As much as I do play guitar, I'm probably just like Bobby and anybody else who does it. It's not about, hey, I need to practice. It's like I see a guitar sitting there and like there's so much stuff sitting here waiting to be had. I just pick it up and I just play. I don't care. I don't look at clocks. I don't do anything. I just love playing guitar. And again, it ends up being boiling down to music. We're creating music. We just happen to be using this as the tool to do it.
And we have another guitar question. Your favorite guitar amp setup to play on stage?
Well, like I said, right now, if I could have the Hammer out there, I would have the Hammer out there. But right now, the Wolfgang does a stellar job. I'm running through for the tour. I bought a pair of Boss Katana heads, and right now I keep one on the road. The other one's back in Nashville, and we usually have the backline supplied by local people. So I'll usually have a Marshall 800, JCM 800 as a backup, maybe a 900. But the one that if I could take out, it's a tube head, and the reason why I went with the Katanas is because they are not tube head, so they can survive all the aspect of travel wise. But otherwise, I have a Marshall 2203 that is in a purple box. It's a purple head, and I love it. But I yanked the two tubes out, so in theory wise, it's down to 50, but it's still damn loud.
Yeah.
But again, since it has tubes, it's actually sitting right beside me on the other side of this wall, waiting to be used as something close by that I can bring it out. But that's where I'm at now. So yeah, as far as having a favorite, as long as it sounds good, that's fine. I don't care if it's tube or if it's not. I care about the end sound. That's it.
Are you a wireless guy or cable dud?
Dude.
Wireless simply because that way I can go anywhere at any time. It's not a tone thing for me. Again, if something sounds weird with me, if I plug in a cable and I lose some high end, then what do we do, Bobby? We just turn up the high end on the amp. You go, sounds like normal. You adjust to whatever the sound, whatever you feel like you're lacking, or any of these backup amps. It's the same thing. You get an amp, and none of the tube amps are going to sound, exactly like it. Hopefully, you get ballparky, and then you just fine tune it. And in fact, I remember this was probably I guarantee you 20 years ago. Funny Boy was out playing somewhere. Another guitar player came up and goes, "Hey, what are you playing out of?" I was playing out of an old Hartke guitar amp. And it was one of those things where you heard somebody else do it, you found someone real cheap, and you go, I'll give it a shot. Before that, I was playing out of an ADA MP1 running into a Fender Bassman, Bassman just running clean. And but every time he came up and whenever he saw what I was using with the heart key, he goes, wow, yeah, you sound the same. Doesn't matter what you play of. I don't know if that's good or bad, but in general, wise, you'll tend to tune that to what your ears like. So I'm sure if George Lynch was to put out something, it's going to sound like George Lynch at the end of the day. Now we might, because think about Ed. Van Halen 1 doesn't sound like Van Halen 2. That doesn't sound like Women and Children First. It doesn't sound like Fair Warning. They all sound great. We'd probably be happy with any of those tones. But clearly, Eddie wasn't about, the epitome of Ed Sohn or guitar sound would be that first record. Most people, if you're a Van Halen guy, you go Van Halen 1, and I agree with that 110%. But as soon as you hear Unchained, that doesn't sound anything at all like Van Halen 1, but Ed didn't even care about retaining the same sound, and everything. But they were all great. And Ed could play through anything, and you could go, that's Edward Van Halen. So as they say, took me a long time to kind of completely agree, but you guys, I'm sure, would also go, hey, certain guitar tones are much easier to play with. I don't want to play Crazy Train with Angus's guitar setup.
Yeah.
That's probably not going to be pretty, people. I'm just letting you know now. Or vice versa. I don't want to play Randy's stuff, and play, Back in Black. That wouldn't sound very good either.
Yep.
We'll kick right back up to you, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dean, another peer and colleague of yours, who's a friend of mine over the years, that I wanted to bring up and find out how you guys hooked up to do some work together. Is so this was a little bit ago now, back when you and I met originally. You were playing with Mike Rocco, and
Yeah.
I met you guys when you were doing stuff with Daughtry, and as well as just a bunch of other solo stuff. And a lot of people know Mike from his various work and collaborations with, like Sum 41. I mean, not Sum 40, SR71, and from his relationship with Mitch and stuff like that. So I just wanted to ask you how you got to hook up with Mike and do some jamming with him in the Mike Rocco band.
Sure. Yeah, and of course, Mike's actually been very prevalent in the Candlebox camp too.
Yeah.
True.
Well, he's helped write a lot of the stuff with those guys. But with Mike, I noted he, of course, he had Plunge, and then he had Cinder Road, right?
Yep.
Prior to the Mike Rocco himself. But anyway, those guys would open up several shows and stuff like that for Funny Money. So that's actually how I met, and he was always very kind of cool and nice, and just saying, "Hey, I really like your playing," and all that kind of stuff. And so then, that went on for quite a while. And then next thing you know, then I get a call from him, and he's like, "Okay, I think Cinder Road's kind of done. So would you be interested?" I'm basically putting together a group of guys who I want kind of cherry pick, I guess maybe is how you say it. But so anyway, so we had Pat Patrick, but he wanted to know as another guitar player if I'd be willing to do it because he knew I could sing and play guitar. So of course I said, yeah, because I always liked the Plunge stuff and I like the Cinder Road stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah, great.
And that's truly how it got together. We went out, we played a couple shows, and all that pulled together. And then I remember we were doing rehearsals at Mike's place down in Towson one night. And he would like maybe one week he called and said, "Hey, Candlebox is offering this, hey, we'll do this many shows over this amount of time and stuff." And if you guys are probably fully aware about the whole buy-on aspect of getting on the tour, which is we know basically you say, hey, you want, this is just random numbers, by the way, but if you want 100 shows, then it's going to cost you $1,000 a show. So you need to give us $100,000 and you can do the tour with us. All right. So anyway, but that's very, again, it's very typical, very prevalent, still certainly to this day. And that. So anyway, so we got the call from Candlebox, and Mike just thought that the money that we would put out versus the payoff from it, musically wise, wasn't so much a match. We'd done some shows with those guys before, and a couple other different bands and stuff like one-offs and that. But Anyway, so then I don't know if it was the next week or 2 weeks after that, we're at rehearsal, and Mike comes in. He goes, "Hey, Daughtry just called," and Chris and Mike had definitely worked on. Oh, there's another guy. They had worked on stuff together. In fact, Rocco, maybe it was Cinder Road at that point, went out with Chris on his first nationwide tour after Idol. So they were friends based off of that aspect. So he got the call and they said, "Hey, are you interested in doing it?" So we thought, and honestly, musically wise, I think we're right up the same alley. Rock and stuff that still has great melodies and harmonies. So anyway, that's what happened, and so we opted to go ahead and we accepted that tour and did the tour, and it was fantastic. And yeah, it came up with one of my memories. I think I just shared it this morning, actually.
Oh, nice.
The bass player was Drew Yon, and he's from up in, am I thinking Boston area? I think. I'd never met him before, but that's usual stuff. Stuff like this all gets assembled, and all of a sudden you got new friends you didn't know. And that. So, but anyway, he's a great guitar player. He can sing and everything. But he was brought in to go ahead and do bass for the tour and stuff. So anyway, we did it. It was fantastic, and made friends with the guys at Daughtry. So still chat with most of them to this day, one way or another. And it was great. But that's how I got hooked up with Mike. And I'll pester Mike maybe about once a year now at this point. Like, Mike, are you sure you don't want to go out and do something? Time moved on, and Mike is easily one of the hardest working guys I've
Yeah.
ever met through the whole stuff. I mean, he again, like I talk about, the AM is not really a friend of mine. So whenever I go down there and he crashed at his place or something like that in his guest room, then I would go ahead and I would see the little notepad on the desk, and it'd have like a list of 10 things. Call the agents, call the publisher, call this, and everything. And he probably got that done, taken care of, before I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go take a pee and go back to sleep.
Right.
Kind of guy
Yeah.
that Mike really is. So it's I feel bad that it didn't go further than what it has. But I mean, again, he's made his decision, and he's not ever saying never, never. But we know, time keeps ticking away, and the further you get away from it, the easier it is to go, nah, I'm done. But
Yeah.
he writes great stuff, and he's a great front man, and yeah, I love it. I think he's great, and everybody should know about him.
Totally. I've got Mike on my radar for this show to kind of pester him a little bit. And I think he'd be down for the cause if I'm just like, come on, bro.
There you go.
It's gonna be a good time. And now I get to dangle the Dean cherry in front of him and be like, Dean said yes.
Yeah, well, just sit there and go, I don't know. I think you might want to do this, because I was talking to Dean and he had some words to say about you. So if you want to come on, and I'll play it live, and then you can respond to him.
Right, exactly.
Whatever it takes, I don't care. Lull him into think that he's going to get roasted instead. Is like, no, man, you're getting toasted, brother.
Right.
He's a great guy, and he's been a professional with everything I've ever dealt with, and he cares. That's what I'm talking about. The guys who aren't, that's good enough. It's like, hey, I know all that stuff, so let's rehearse again anyway.
Absolutely, 100% for sure, man. No, and that's definitely super duper cool. But also, Dean, we know that you've worked all day, and we definitely appreciate your time, and we want to respect your schedule. But one of the things we definitely want to talk to you about is what is the rest of 2023 and early 2024 shaping up for you? Of course, we know there's certain things you're probably able to talk about and other things that you can't, but we'd love to hear what you can share about how the rest of the year is shaping up for you.
All right. Well, I'm going to probably spend the next week studying Bobby's habits, find out when he's out of the house. And I do need an address. So if either one of you guys could hook me up for that, I appreciate that. And then after that, then I'll call you up and go, hey, you want to see these new guitars I got? And then the rest of it really is, it's all based off of Bret's schedule. So we are booked currently, into next year. Are booking into it, and there's already stuff on the books thus far. So that'll get, of course, announced whenever they deem that and everything. So yeah, but we got the rest is just really focusing on that. If I have any time in between, of course I do. Again, I teach during the week, that I'll do that. Be it at the location that I teach. a music school called Bach to Rock and stuff. So
Oh,
I
nice.
teach there. They've been great to me. I try to do some Zoom. I try to do some stuff here at the house as well. And then past that, then I know it's taken forever, but I need to go ahead and get another solo record out. People ask me like, and I just hate to go like, yeah, I've just got the one. But I'm such a procrastinator. As much as I want everything to be great, I'll allow time to fly way faster than I should.
Sure.
So anyway, I just need to buckle down and do it next time. Whenever I'm sitting in a hotel room, I need to go ahead and go. I need to get this stuff done, and take recording stuff with me and start the process. So I got lots of songs. So it's not a shortage of songs. It's a matter of the rest, getting it all together and getting it recorded. And once you get that part, then you throw it out there and see how it goes and stuff. But that's basically the main thing that I'm focusing on is whatever Brett comes first as far as what has to be done.
Mhm.
And again, I love it. I love doing what I'm doing with that. And then the second part would be try to go ahead and make sure that I keep working on my own music. That's super important. And then just literally get better at this stuff. Which again, one thing will lead to the other, and everything like that. So it's just all music all day. Not like MTV, all music all day. I'm just saying this is more like me all day.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Are you all? Of course, Brett's a road dog, a workhorse. Of course, people know that he's definitely all over the road as well. But are you also still looking to splice in any solo shows whenever you're able?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love. I do. Honestly, I do miss doing that. It was just, it was my thing that I was doing before this. I mean, I was doing a ton of acoustic stuff as well,
Mhm.
but which I love doing that. Again, I don't play any gigs I actually don't like or don't like the songs. I love everything I do. So, but I would really, really like to go. And that's what was weird because again, on Tuesday, you know, on Monday, solo and everything was still kind of cruising along. And then as of Tuesday, they come Friday, all that literally just shut down out of nowhere. And
Mhm.
so, I wasn't prepared for it per se. But again, if it is things have to change,
Yeah.
So what I want to do, along with what is also kind of career based and stuff, luckily Brett fills both of those things. But I like to do everything. So and he doesn't discourage us from not
Yeah.
doing other things that has zero to do with anything. So
Yeah.
it's up to me to take the time that's not Brett time to do whatever I can with it, and keep building whatever I'm trying to do and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Is Eric still on bass in the Bret Michaels Band?
Eric, I'm not sure how long he hasn't been with us
Oh,
since
okay.
I've been in the band. Yeah. So he was there, and Eric plays in general. Eric doesn't play that much. Just he has other things going on, but he wants to. So we keep talking about this, that, and the other thing. With Chad and Pete as well. So we're definitely interested in trying to get some more shows with Eric because we love it, and that's where it's full up volume.
Mhm.
Chad, Pete, and myself are strictly acoustic and the cajon, that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a different beast than that. But I'd love to do it, and it's just a matter of scheduling,
For
you
sure.
know. And
Yeah.
of course, Brett comes first,
Yeah.
so that we have to figure out anything, and that tends to go ahead and block out X amount of weekends. So then you have to find some other place that maybe wants to go and do something not on a weekend. So
Yeah.
occasionally we'll go ahead. We'll go if we play on a Friday somewhere. We always fly a day before, so maybe we go ahead and try to book a Thursday somewhere. So while we're
Sure.
already in town, let's make some more music and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, for sure. Because we've got, Mary on drums, and we send our well wishes out to her. She was feeling under the weather today. She reached out to Angel, so that's the only reason that it turned into the Dean show when you were expecting to have your teammate
Sorry about that.
right there with you. But of course,
I
we've got
got you.
Mary on drums. But who's currently playing bass in the Bret Michaels Band?
Norman Voss, Voss. So he's
Oh,
playing
right,
bass.
that's
Do you
right.
know Norman?
From Storm and Norman.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
he's a blast. So of course he and I are beside each other on stage and stuff like that. But he's a blast. He's been a really really good guy to go ahead and get to know. He's as easy as they go, where I could get a little bit tense on things. He is certainly whatever way the wind blows. You can say, Norman, you look really bad today. Like, well. Me, I'd be like, "What do I look tired? I look tired. I feel tired." That kind of stuff. So him and of course Rob, the keyboard player, same thing. Super duper nice guy and everything like that. So I'm just happy to go ahead. Everybody in the group, we all get along fantastic. Uh, and again, it's a solid band. Everybody's been there. I'm the newbie, so I'm just closing in on 4.5 months,
Right.
that kind of stuff. Norman and Mary have been here for I think about 2 years. Rob's been here about 17 years. Again, I think Pete's like 22, I think.
Yeah, I think Pete's like 22 years with Bret, going on 56 years with Bret, like something like that.
Well, mentally wise and actual calendar time, yes. It
No,
can
no,
be any which way.
absolutely.
Yeah,
We love Pete, and Pete's a gem, and I need to reach out to him as
yes.
well because I think he would be just great conversation as well. But he and I did an interview at a Bret show back at Ramson Annapolis a few years back when Pete put out his first book. And so
Gotcha.
we,
Yeah.
we got to talk a lot about that. One of the cool little stories that we got to talk about is I was like, because he's Van Halen and Poison, like those were his bands and stuff. And I
Yeah.
asked him, I was like, Pete, when they were replacing CC, did you reach out? And he told a great story about yes, I did. I absolutely reached out to the Poison Camp for an audition. It just wasn't the right time, but it's been great getting the opportunity to play with Bret in his solo band and the relationship that we built over all these years. But it was cool having Pete be like, yes, when that slot was open, I was definitely on it and I definitely tried.
Well, yeah, and even whenever, because real quick, we didn't touch on was how did Pete and I hook up? Because again, he's the reason why I got into Brett's band,
Oh yeah, of
and it
course.
was, yeah. Well, Epic used to open up for Funny Money way back in the beginning, so we're talking 20 years ago then, that kind of stuff, and that's actually so he and I would just much more high by, talk like maybe once a year or something like that even, right? And then whenever this past September Pete happened to be playing acoustic wise with Chuck, the drummer, in Ashburn. So, whatever, probably about 15, 20 minutes away from my house. I'm like, oh, how about if I come up? I'd love to come up and say, hey, what do you want to sit in? Sure, I'll sit in for a couple songs. So he said, do like 3 or 4. Yeah, no problem. So I got up there and I played, and I ended up playing about the next 2.5 hours with him instead. So we got talking at the end of that. Hey, what are you up to? And all this kind of stuff. And so, I told him, and then he told me what was going on with Chad and Eric. He goes, "Was that sound like something you'd be interested in doing? Because I'd love to have you come in and play guitar, and because Pete just wanted to sing and everything." I'm like, absolutely. Again, it's building not only personal relationships, but obviously professional relationships, right? So he says, so let's talk after the beginning of the year. He and I got together for lunch in January, and he walked out there. He goes, okay, I'm going to go and make some phone calls. So it wasn't probably whatever the next week or maybe two. Next thing I knew, it had legs and it was going to happen. And it had already booked the show. So after that, there's like, okay, now I actually got to learn all this stuff that I don't know and everything. So that's how we actually got together. And then it still took until, so that was in January. So it took till April till I got any phone call that had anything to do with Brett. But he knew full well that I'm looking for a helping hand. It's like he knows the work I've done and everything. And so if he could assist me in any shape or form, I'd appreciate it if he put my name out there. And of course, he put it out there in a big way.
Absolutely. No, that's super
So,
duper
yeah,
cool.
Pete's the reason again why I got the shot aspect of stuff. So even though Pete had a connection to the Poison Camp, who knows? They might go, his hair's too short, his hair's too long, wrong color. I actually way back whenever Ronnie, getting back to Kicks, whenever
Mhm.
Ronnie, had his first thing around Cool Kids, and everybody's like, hey, there's they're talking about the other guitar player. Now, granted, at that time, I might have been good enough to go and do it or not. I don't know, but everybody's like, hey, why don't you do it? So I reached out, and I was told that Donnie doesn't want two blonde hair guys in the group.
Really?
Well, and that was that. Whether that was legit or not, that was the general response I got. Like, oh, all right. I guess that's how it works then.
Gotcha.
I saw the logic in it. So, everybody looks at Steve. He's the blonde hair. He's the singer. So he kind of stands out, you know. But it's
Sure.
funny, now with Bret, and of course,
Yeah.
Pete's hair is not exactly dark. His is lighter, like mine. So if the three of
Yeah.
us get up there, you got three long hair, light hair guys up there. Clearly, Bret doesn't care. He go like, "Hey, you need to go do something with your hair." I'd be happy. I've had purple hair. I would do it again if Bret goes, "Hey, why don't you color your hair?" All right, you care what? Purple hair it is. So I'm actually
Totally.
ready to go and put some purple in my hair for cancer. I believe is what it's something specific, but it's purple, and it's in November. But I'm hoping to go ahead and get it done very soon. I'd rather have it sooner than later because
For
I'm all
sure.
about it. And
Yeah.
plus, it draws more attention to the subject and everything quicker wise and stuff. But
That does absolutely, and you can turn to a little bit of horns up for the Ravens as well.
yeah, there you go, absolutely.
Yep.
There
There
you
you
go,
go, Angel.
exactly. We went to Louder Than Life. Have you guys been there?
No, I haven't been to the festival, but I'm definitely familiar.
Okay, yeah. So Sherry and I went there one year, and I think they had those fuck cancer ones there. And I was going to buy one because obviously, it's a money raising thing.
Yeah.
Uh, but the downside is like I can't wear it anywhere. That's the only reason why I didn't buy it. I'm like, I can't teach 10-year-old kids. Why you keep looking at my shirt? Oh, I get it. You know, Mommy, Daddy, what does this word mean? Oops, sorry. Dean don't
No.
work here no more.
Yeah.
So any of that kind of stuff. But that's but I think my wife did buy it because she doesn't care.
Right.
So, but yeah, I just couldn't. I didn't have a place I could actually throw it out there,
Yeah.
so I didn't bother actually grabbing one. But of course, people were still scooping them up no matter what because they're cool shirts.
Yep. Absolutely, man. 100% for sure. Angel, let me kick it back up to you real quick, bud. Has anything new popped up for the Metal Summoners or anything final from yourself?
Yeah, just two really good questions. As a teacher, have you seen or taught more females as the years progressed?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and in fact, the big thing that increased it was the ukulele. They all weren't ukulele players, but it was what was her name? Greta, somebody who was on like American was it American Got Talent or what was that show? The little girl came out, she played the ukulele, and she had a lot of success with it. She's probably I don't know like 10 or 12 or something like that. She's super young, but whoever it was, that really kind of really, I'm sure ukulele players throughout the country were like, yes, finally. She was great. She wrote great songs. She's still around. I just can't think of her name offhand, but I think her name was that. But that's actually the bigger thing that brought a lot of it. But yeah, be it guitar and of course Taylor Swift. There's another thing that really helped bring in the females and stuff like that. There's always been girls who wanted to rock, so it's not that there's that, but again, it's just it seems to be the more I don't know. I'm sure I'll say something that doesn't sound correct, but there's tends to be more boys who want to go and play guitar or drums than others. So I love it whenever a girl comes in there. I'm like, this is fantastic. So because hopefully it spurs on one to another. It's just about musicians. It's not about boy or girl. At the end of the day, but I love seeing the girls and stuff.
And last question, what would be your career if you wasn't a musician?
Ooh. I didn't have a backup. I don't have a backup. How sad is that? Whenever I was growing up, before I was a musician, as a kid in the '70s, I either want to be a comic book artist or a baseball player. So I was
Nice.
pretty good at both. As far as drawing wise, that runs in my family. In fact, my older brother Gary, he's getting ready to go ahead and release another one of his own comic books and stuff. So anyway, that's cool. And then, but baseball, yeah, I was a pitcher and I was a shortstop. And I look back, somebody on Facebook over the past couple of years has kind of put some of the newspaper clippings in. He was our coach and he's my best friend's dad. Anyway, so he just started to go ahead and put some of that stuff up. I'm like, wow, I was freaking tearing up. I was throwing, like uh, uh, whatever, 3 hitters and 12 strikeouts a game and all that kind of stuff. And my average was all that and everything. So, but yeah, I love baseball. Again, the other thing I really do care about sports, one sport, baseball, one team, the Orioles. Anything else, I just don't I don't follow. Not anymore. I used to as a kid. I was Baltimore Colts, Miami Dolphins, and the Orioles. Now it's just
Nice.
the Orioles. Yeah.
Right on.
So,
Absolutely, for sure, man. My girlfriend Megan wants to ask you a question since we're almost in October. What's your favorite scary movie?
Ooh, do you like scary movies?
Yes. Yeah,
Uh,
this
yeah,
this, this household does.
I'm a horror nut. My wife hates them, but she'll watch them with me. One of
through
them.
the
I'm like,
through the
just
fingers.
you're looking, just go like this. It's the same thing. Uh, I love like John Carpenter's The Thing, the original one. I think it's a great movie.
Well, John
I'll
Carpenter
put on
Halloween,
any.
that's her jam.
What was that?
I was gonna say with John Carpenter's Halloween, that's her jam, man.
Absolutely. Is that, I saw those all in the theaters when they came out. I was probably like 12, 13, 14, whatever. Yeah, I'll watch any of those Halloweens, but I was severely disappointed with the last one.
Oh
That
boy.
that that seemed like a low budget, just wasn't anywhere near. Like, how did somebody think? I like the one before that where she's out in the woods
Hmm.
and he comes in after her like that. I thought that was cool, but then the last one
Takes
was
out the entire
really.
fire department.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, which I thought that
There,
was
there-
kind
yep.
of, again,
There's
confusing.
there's
It's
her
cool.
whole Michael Myers piece on
Oh,
her
see,
leg.
there you go. I tell you, Brett's personal assistant, he's a hard nut, and he has, different Michael Myers, Jason. He has all of these all over his body. In fact, he took a little bit of a break from play or hanging out with us, doing his job with that by going to comic book or horror conventions
Nice.
to go meet, get autographs, and get tattoos and all that kind of stuff. But he'll be back shortly. But yeah, I'm a horror nut, so I'll watch any of the nightmares. Of course, the first couple are the best.
Mhm.
Friday 13th, same kind of deal. After a while, it kind of went a little bit,
Totally.
generic. I loved Freddy versus Jason, or is it Jason versus Freddy?
You got it,
I
Freddy
thought
versus
that was really good.
Jason.
I love that. I thought that was a great movie. And I could watch it. It was done very well. They both kind of got their things in there, and you don't necessarily have a winner per se,
Yeah.
so leave
I
it wide
only
open.
I only really had two particular issues with that movie. One is that they went with somebody that wasn't Kane Hodder for Jason. So
I got you.
I really wasn't personally big on that. And the only thing in that movie that I particularly didn't like was there's this one scene where Jason's kind of going in to attack Freddy, and Freddy busts a pipe and this water like comes down, and Jason kind of stops in his tracks like he doesn't really know what to do, almost like he's afraid of it. And I'm kind of like, no, why would you write that in as like a weakness? Because Freddy preys on fear. And I was like,
Sure.
yeah, you fucked up on that one, because I was like, it doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. Like, Jason's been drowned or hunted people in water so many
Right.
times
Nothing
throughout
stops him.
the
Nothing
series.
stops him.
Yeah, that I'm like,
Yeah.
he would not stop in his tracks
You
over
gotta
some
understand,
water.
there's probably a reason why, though, because he knew that Jason drowned as a child. He was trying to get that in his head.
And I get that, and you're definitely not wrong on that. But it was just, I don't know, it seemed a little weird. But there's definitely some great one-liners in that movie that I definitely love. Like, there's this guy that kind of reminds me of Jay from Jay and Silent Bob, and it's after Jason shows up and like just decimates everybody at the rave party, and the few
Right.
little survivors are like hanging in like a little bus or like hanging in like a little basement or whatever, and this stoner guy's like trying to light his joint, and he's just like, man, that goalie was fucking pissed, man. And I just think it's one of like the best, like, just like little one-liners in movies.
You can
What?
ask
What?
him.
And all.
I
What's
went
that?
to I went to theaters to see Halloween Ends, and I walked out pissed
Oh
off.
man, yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, it
I honestly
seemed very B
cried.
movie to me. It
Yeah.
just what. Yeah.
I
It just
honestly
wasn't.
cried.
What? Yeah. Well,
Watching Michael
but
Bill.
but
Yeah.
I mean, it is the same normal stuff where the original ones, like the first one or two, are going to be the best because they're legit. Like
Mhm.
the you don't want any jokes out of Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger. You want them to be pure evil. That's
Yeah.
it. I don't need jokes. So after a while, and they go, well, what can we do now? And it gets a little bit crazy.
The thing was that John Carpenter didn't even make this movie. It was some other director.
I know. Well, there you go. And you just kind of go that. Well, and the only other thing that I would throw in there would be, again, because you talk about different. I loved Alien Covenant. I love the Alien movies, even though they're a little
Yeah.
bit slower in the beginning. But
Yeah.
I love the Alien movies because I love the Alien as killer and the Alien Queen killer.
And one more horror question for you because it comes out in 2 days. Are you going to go see and are you a fan of Saw?
I liked all the original ones. I don't. I think that kind of went a little bit of the, hey, we're still making money. Let's decrease the budget just
Fair
enough
enough.
to put it out there, you know. But I love the original ones. You know, probably first two or three of them. I think they kind of went a little bit sketchy, and I might not even have seen the last one based off of that. I'm like, okay, so Saw 23. I'm not sure what else they're gonna do, but you know. But aside from that, I do want to see the was it uh was it Demeter?
Oh yeah, the
The
Voyage of the Dementor, the new vampire
I
movie.
heard that's
yes,
actually really
yeah,
Me
yeah.
good.
too.
I keep waiting for that. Yes,
Yeah,
so I do
vampire
want to
movies.
see it.
Vampire
It's
movies I
already
Oh,
out.
love. So
it
like,
looks great.
yeah,
Well, it looks great. You know, all the previews, the vampire looks super cool. You
yeah,
know, so I hope it's really good.
yeah, it's been out, so I think it's either coming to services soon or probably DVD and whatnot. But
Yeah, my
I've
tattoo artist
definitely heard good things about it. Her tattoo artist really liked it. I just didn't get a chance to get to the theaters to see it, but I always come running to like the new any kind of like new vampire movies. Like I saw Renfield with Nicolas Cage. I thought that was absolutely awesome. And I really liked the movie that they did, The Invitation. I wasn't super stoked about the ending personally. I thought that they took out the big dog a little too easily for the way that they built
Right.
that movie, but I really liked the way they designed this kind of new take on classic proper old school like British vampire type stuff, like
Right.
vampirism around like old school like proper posh, you know, English culture. So I thought that was pretty cool. But no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one, Dean. I definitely want to see that Voyage movie.
Yeah, horror movies for rock.
Absolutely, that they 100% do. Well, Dean, before we let you go, man, because again, thank you very, very much, man. Where can you be found for anybody that's looking for you or wants to say what's up? Plug your socials and where can people find solo merch?
So merch, you can come straight to me. You can either email just deancramer@aol.com. That's an easy way to do it. Or simply go ahead and find me on Facebook. I don't even know what my Facebook thing is. I think it's like Dean Kramer .7, whatever Facebook. I don't know. But yeah, if you just look around, you know, I'm usually not too difficult to go ahead and find. Uh, as far as that's concerned. Yeah, but just search my name. Instagram, same thing. Just find me on there. I'm sure you'll be able to tell if it's me or not. I think it's actually Dean Kramer 69 on Instagram.
As
But
it should.
yeah, or I could just have him reach out to Angel and go, Angel's take care of everything now at this point. He'll hook you up. Whatever you what? Oh, Annabelle.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, for me. Yeah. But you know, so if Annabelle needs a solo shirt, you know, have her reach out to me through Facebook or Instagram. Facebook's probably easiest. Just shoot me a private message on there and we'll get it. So yeah, I do have lots of cool, neat little solo shirts and some other merch and stuff like that. So I would still love to get it out there because it still means a lot to me.
Absolutely, man. Happy to. And anything that Angel and I can do to assist in that, man. Dean, don't be shy. Send us anything that you need, and you're always welcome, man. If anything pops up that you ever need to plug, whether it's a episode that you want to do again, or even if you're just like, hey, Jay, Angel, like, can I just get 10 minutes because I really want to talk about this new thing? Don't be shy, dude. Reach out to us for anything.
All right, brother. I do appreciate it. Appreciate both of you guys.
Absolutely, man. And we appreciate you again, Dean. Thank you so much for being down for the experience, man. And the biggest thing that matters to myself and Angel is that you had a good time, you felt respected, that it was worth your time, and that you enjoyed yourself, and that you felt that the questions that were asked of you were worth your time in answering.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love it because you never know. And as you can tell, I don't like to talk. So not true whatsoever. Anyway, but no, I love that. I just find it interesting, because you never know what somebody's going to ask, and because most people don't really care. So I'm just like, hey, give me a chance to talk. I'll do it.
Absolutely, man. Well, Dean, thank you so much, man. Absolute best of luck with everything coming up soon with Bret. We know you're going to continue to kill it, and congratulations on that, man. And again, anything you need, thank you so much, man. And reach out anytime, man. We really appreciate you.
Will do. And I expect to see both you guys at the show. Hit me
Definitely.
up. I'll hook you up.
I will, man.
Okay.
Absolutely. We definitely
Angel,
will, man. So thank you so much. Metal Summoners, thank you guys so much as always. Thank you for tuning in. Great questions as always. We really appreciate you supporting the show, showing Dean a lot of love. And so make sure you're catching him out with the Bret Michaels Band. And anytime that he's able to put together something with solo, make sure that you're supporting him there. And again, like he said, you can reach out to him for solo merch as well. So we appreciate you guys so much. Next week's episode has been confirmed. We'll put out the guest announcements over the weekend for next week's episode. So Metal Summoners, you got that to look forward to, and we appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you're following Angel Alamo at Angel Alamo 78 on Instagram, and you can also find him on Facebook. Like Dean said, you can find him on Facebook and Instagram as well. You can find me at Just a R&R Junkie on Instagram, and you can find me on Facebook as well, and Bobby Dreyer at BobbyDreyer.com. Thank you guys as always, Metal Summoners. We love you guys. Have a great weekend. Be good to each other, and horns up, fangs out. We will see you guys very, very soon. Take care. Be good to each other. And on behalf of Dean Cramer, Solo, and the Bret Michaels Band, and on behalf of the Metal Summit, we appreciate you guys and take care. We'll see you guys in a week. As always, you've been watching the